there's no point in messing about. What's up, everybody? Michael Lang here. We're hanging out with Jay from CryptoJunkies. How you doing, Jay?
Hey, what's happening? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I wanted to have you on, and I was thinking that I was also gonna ask if Matt would come on and have a talk with me sometime.
Oh
I
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I like listening to yours and Wales only talks that you have.
Yeah, the macro stuff, hey?
Yeah, yeah, that really hits home because I've got some background in finance myself. I was in insurance business for 11 years. Worked in sales. I was in I was doing like small to medium sized companies, and also during the process you usually take care of the sort of the families of the higher ups. It's like borderline corruption, but
Hmm.
it's sort of commonly used as a tactic over here. So I was sort of in charge of the families who had like more wealth than average. So I
Yeah,
do have like
interesting.
some kind of an idea on what it is that people look for in terms of saving instruments, and I do have an idea on what it is that they pay for the services, like on a yearly basis, and
Yeah.
as fixed fees on the way in and on the way out, and still with the fees being this ridiculous, it's actually about the same now what it costs to save into like a pension scheme or something over here. So
Oh, that's
it's a
interesting.
yeah, so it's about the same money you spend now on Ethereum that you would spend like in fees to the pension company and the sort of the fund managers and whatever.
Huh. But so long term though, if you're locking up in something like Hex, that's obviously still outweighing in a massive degree.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, okay, okay.
yeah. Because the pricing, the pricing in the instruments is set up in a way. It was almost like an inside joke where we joked about like other companies, of course, because
Hmm.
you wanna have like a sort of like a clear. You want your shield to be a bit shinier than the next guy, so you you don't necessarily look for faults in your own actions like first, but there were
Hmm.
companies that we joked about that if the customer got more than what the inflation was, then there was a, a, a problem in the pricing of the service. And they're
Yeah.
probably gonna fix it pretty soon. And yeah,
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I think inflation is a pretty good topic because I don't think people realize just how much that compounds over time. Right? If we talk
yeah,
about like everyone gets excited about compound interest, but then they don't look at the other side of it, which is what is the compound effect of the interest that's robbing you.
yeah,
And it's all
exactly,
based
yeah,
off how far you are away from the inflation, right? Like
yeah,
with
yeah,
something like Hex, you're really close to it. So it's a benefit. But with the banking cartels and the structure of how the system works, when money is printed and introduced to the system, you're the furthest away from it. So therefore, it
yeah,
negatively affects you.
yeah. I do have a good real life example of this because uh, back then we I did a lot of these sort of voluntary pension schemes where people saved like their own they had their own sort of extra pension plan
Mm,
on top of the one that we are sort of building. The the system is set up a bit different over here, so it's not like in the States where you get to choose a bit more freely where the money goes. And if I understood correctly, you can even like handle some of the funds yourself. But that's not the case over
mm,
here. Over here, the government pension is taken from your salary, so
Okay.
you don't even get to see the money before your pension hits, and you get to save like an extra pension if you want, and there's a tax deduction on it. And a big selling argument for these sort of surplus or extra pensions was the fact that our pension system now is built in a way that we have this where it adjusts by inflation every year, or it
Oh,
used to.
geez.
So like when you retire and your inflation is, let's make the math really easy. Let's say your pension is 1,000 euros a month and inflation is 3%. Back in the day, you would get like 1,030 euros a month next year.
Okay.
But now the pensioners get only half. This is, hey Nico. Now the pensioners get only half of the inflation. So if the measured inflation or sort of the official inflation is 3%, the pensions only go up by 1.5%. So every year that you're alive while on pension, your buying power goes down by half the inflation. And there's nothing you can do
Yes.
about it. It doesn't, like after you retire, the pot sort of doesn't grow for you anymore. So even if the companies made huge killings on their investments after you retire, it doesn't have much of an effect on your retirement.
Yeah, that's not really a good deal. Hey,
No, it's just.
what's the average retirement age? Is it same? Like 65, 60? I think
Yeah,
it's 67 now in the US.
Yeah, they pushed
Let me
it
look.
up to 67 now.
Yeah,
And
let me
to
look
be
to
honest,
see.
like it's gonna be 70 so quick. We're gonna be like
Yeah.
Japan. We're gonna be like
Yeah.
Japan really fast. But
Yeah.
it's the thing I was thinking about the other day was I couldn't help but hear a politician talk about our sort of the age pyramid of our population, where there's a lot of old people. There's like over 65-year-olds will be a bigger age bracket than under 25-year-olds just a few years from now, and the
Oh, wow.
older age bracket is continuing to grow, while the younger age bracket is shrinking fast. So nobody's having kids, and the politicians have a really clever way of solving this. Instead of downsizing their economy to fit that scale of sort of fewer resources, they've decided that it's a good idea to replace the population, so they get to keep the thing going without a hitch, so that there's somebody to pick up the bill after.
So how are they going to replace that population by
Well,
giving encouragement for kids or immigrants?
we just had like 30,000 people move in from Afghanistan and Iraq and all over Africa. They know how to make babies.
Huh. Okay.
So that's cool. So if like your average Finnish woman has their first baby at about 32 years old or something, very old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I know guys who have 6 or 7 babies and their missus is pregnant, and they're happy like picking shit. Oh man, they get to do
Wow.
what they like. Yeah.
That's interesting. Getting the perspective from Finland.
So you don't need to like crunch those numbers into an Excel sheet and see how quickly this country turns Muslim. It's like 25 years.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is. Hey.
That's like the sign of the times. I'm just stating facts. I don't particularly take any sort of joy in the matter, nor any feel to sort of do anything about it. I'm just sort of pointing the obvious, and like if you look at where the ship is going, that's fine to say where we're headed. Like I'm not steering the ship. I'm just like in it. We're all in here. Like I can just like just lift your gaze up a bit and check out. Oh, okay, this is looks like that's where we're going. Like everything points to that direction. If I have like an Excel spreadsheet and I crunch the numbers in, yeah, and I'm not like Wales only type of mathematician. Like I'm like very base level math type of a guy.
Yeah, but at that rate of like dumping that many people in, I mean, yeah, I would even
Yeah,
argue
dude,
maybe
yeah,
less than
yeah.
25 years, and it would already be pretty well transferred over. But also, too, it's like that's not very appealing for the retirement generation that's coming up on retirement. I just looked it up, by the way. Apparently, the average retirement age for America is 62, which I think that's bullshit. I think that's old data or something, because there's no way. Most people are working well into their 70s. I mean, my family, like my parents, are like 67 and 65, and they're still working their ass off.
Oh, yeah, but could it be that if they count the people who are 90 and still retired from their late 50s, like back in the day, if they still count them as
Probably.
retired at 56
Probably.
or, yeah. Yeah, we had like,
So the data's kind of skewed.
yeah, I remember when I was a kid in the late 80s and stuff, like, you had guys in their 60s retire. They were like really sort of sprite, little bit grayish gentlemen. Like
Yeah.
they seemed fit to work, like in my eyes.
Yeah.
But they were like,
Well,
forget, man.
well,
I'm
here's
retired."
the difference. Here's what happened is, like, I can speak from the American perspective, is that you had a lot of people working jobs that they didn't like because the benefits. So the society was driven by this working model that was unsustainable, but it was appealing if you put in enough time. So basically, a lot of people, probably millions of people, let's say, all sacrificed finding what their true passion, finding what they would really get excited about to wake up in the morning and do. And they suppress that by whatever means, and then work the job that they didn't really like for 40 years to then collect money and like chill and then get to enjoy life. Whereas that model, it changed pretty quick. You know, like even when I was a kid, that model was completely changing. That perspective of like, you know, work until you're this age and then go travel and then go see the world and then go enjoy life just really didn't make sense. And that it quickly broke. But secondly, it broke because none of the pension funds had money. Social Security is now talking about that they're going to run out of money by 2035. So that clearly doesn't work, you know, and it raised like generations of miserable people who did a bunch of shit that they didn't really like, you know?
Yeah.
So it was unsustainable.
So you're talking about boomers in particular.
I think so. I think that'd be the category, wouldn't it?
Yeah, who were born right after the war.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be boomers. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting generation. Like
it is.
They're gonna have sort of a lot to answer to in the future, because everything is gonna be fucked, and I have a feeling that the whole world is gonna just sort of turn towards grandpa over there. Like, yeah. So how was that? Tell us about the time you took LSD in Woodstock, grandpa, and fucking took all this debt that we're still paid. Asshole.
Yeah. I think that'll be one piece of it. I think there's two sides of it. There's going to be the debt side of it, and the younger generations are going to blame them for not paying attention enough, right? And not doing enough and whatever else they can come up with. But then there's also a side that they get a ton of praise because that's considered, depending on who you talk to, the last generation of quote unquote real men. So there's like two sides of that, right? And everyone kind of picks their side that they fall into.
Yeah, I don't know about that Truman stuff.
I mean, if you were to compare that to, like what are they called now? Fucking Zoomers or something? I don't know. If you compare that to like teenage kids now, there's a fucking huge difference between the two generations, isn't there?
Yeah, well, there is. Like, I found these short video clips from, I think it was John F. Kennedy, who had the presidential fitness challenge. And Jesus Christ, that was hard. Like I wouldn't be able to pass the challenge. That was like those guys they were freaking fit, young kids, like high school
Interesting.
kids. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
like yeah, and you got to wear like different color shorts in gym class if you're doing really well on your fitness challenge thing. That was
Huh.
like
Okay.
that was like a cool thing. Like they got stuff like that still going on in I bet in China, but I think they had something like that going on in some places over in Russia. But that would have an instant effect on the entire group of young men. If you imagine like taking some kids who are like about daycare, like preschool, something like 6, 7 years old, and have them somewhere where boys get to play together and they get to compete with like physical stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they get to wear like this, and there gets to be like this hierarchy where you actually have a way of moving up in the hierarchy, which I believe would have to be like a positive thing
Mm-hmm.
for anybody's psyche, because like if 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 you sort of if you feel down on yourself and sort of out of luck and whatever, I would imagine knowing that there's a way that you can sort of improve your position with, if with nothing else than sit-ups, then fine, or just do the fucking sit-ups and try not to be the last in your class
Mm-hmm.
the next time the challenge comes up. And you know, I think that would have like a, a, a positive influence on many kids' lives, because there's not a great deal of places where you can be like masculine in a healthy way and get any kind of praise for it. Like the
Yeah.
golden standard in school, for instance, is like an obedient girl. That's like that's like the measuring stick for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So like my son suffers from that tremendously because he doesn't fucking stay put. He's almost like when we're eating, he's almost like standing on his head because it's really difficult to stay put. So it's really hard for him
Yeah.
to try to sit in one place for a complete hour.
That was me when I was a kid. And I
Oh,
think
that
we
was
fundamentally,
absolutely, yeah,
yeah, I
that
think we
was absolutely
fundamentally
me.
don't understand what that actually means, because I was labeled special needs. This is back when this was okay to call people retarded.
Yeah,
So I was labeled
yeah,
that, and I was in special needs class. And we're talking, this was like a class of kids who were like, there was anything from a kid in a wheelchair who couldn't walk and drooling on himself, who needed a voice
yeah,
box to talk like Stephen Hawking. And then there
yeah,
was me, who was just like
yeah,
super excited and hyper and couldn't sit still. So, I mean, you had
yeah,
literally everything in that
yeah,
class. So could you
yeah. We
imagine
had the
how hard
same.
that would be
Yeah,
to
we had the
teach?
same thing. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
the same thing over here. Yeah,
Yeah.
the teacher of that group was a fucking legend. Everybody was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, there comes the teacher! Check him out, man!" He always, when he walked from the teacher's office into the class, like you like that guy just didn't give a fuck. Like if any of the regular folks, like regular kids, if their hair caught on fire, he wouldn't piss on them. He was like, "No, I got my crazies to take care
I think mine was a woman who, kind of your typical mother figure who, more like looked at you like she felt sorry for you because she thought you were stupid and special and different, and all the
of."
all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bad reasons to look at you with that kind of endearing
yeah.
smile.
Oh man,
I think I had that. And then that's right
yeah.
when Ritalin came along, so they threw me
Oh,
on the old Ritalin for a couple
they
years.
did. Oh
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah,
Oh shit. I was in the 6th grade and I was 4 foot tall. So let that
oh
sink in.
gee.
4 foot is like, I was like a
4 foot.
midget.
You're like Joe Rogan height.
Yeah,
What's
I was like
going
a
on with
midget.
that? Oh my God. Did you
And then
catch it up?
yeah,
Like,
so finally,
was it because of the Ritalin?
yeah, they think so. So I'm like 6'1" now. So
Okay.
I
Wow.
remember going into like I was about to go into seventh grade in the U.S., which is like high school, I think, right? Yeah, seventh, I think so. And I was still like 4'2", and at that point, my family was just like, I'd been on it for a while, and I told them about all the weird side effects I was getting. Like I could like sit and like hear my hair growing, and I was just like so inside my own brain, and I just felt like an alien, and all this weird shit that was side effects from
Yeah.
that pill. And finally, they just said, okay, enough is enough. And they took me off it. And we went and I got what's called hair analysis, which is basically they cut a long piece of your hair out of the back of your head and they find all the vitamins and minerals that you're lacking. And then I was walking around with like a tackle box full of vitamins for probably like 6-8 months. And then I went from like a failing student to being one of the top students in the class. And yeah, that was it. That was the last time I ever
Yeah.
touched this stuff. So
Did
go
did
figure.
did did anybody say like sorry?
No, never,
Yeah. That's
never.
that's like, yeah. I really like when that happens. Hey, everybody, how's the audio? I clicked some buttons. I put on this tab extra sexy. I clicked it. How's the? Is it extra sexy or just regular sexy?
That's a good question.
5 by 5, please. Help a fellow out. What? What's going on? Tin top. Hey, Kool-Aid. If you wanna hop on, let me know.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, all right. It's good. This is good. We got some. Maybe we get the audio working. Yeah, what was the other thing? So I've been streaming with my mate for. We've done like 5 episodes in Finnish. We talk about HEX
Oh, cool.
and sort of finances in general because like cryptos haven't like I haven't come across any interesting content in Finnish regarding crypto. So we're sort of trying to sort of break the ice little by little. So the way it's turning out to be is kind of like you're sitting in on two friends who are discussing a matter that both of them already know quite a lot about, and because if you don't know everything that they're talking about, it might be interesting sort of to try to find out what it is that they're talking about. And we're not selling anything to anybody, so there's no pitch to anybody to make any kind of investment or anything. We're talking about the idea and sort of the underlying the sort of the ethos behind the thing, more than like T-share price or price per earnings or anything like that. And
Yeah.
I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah,
mean, especially if you're explaining how like how a lot of these investments and stuff work in Finland, it doesn't sound all that appealing. So it's kind of shocking that crypto isn't more popular. But again, it's all about the stream of information and education. So if there's a
yeah,
way that banks or government or the central entities can control what you have access to in terms of information, then you're going to live life through the lens that they create for you. And
that's
that's
true.
true
Yeah,
regardless. So it's good that you're doing this. It's really good.
yeah. I think it's might be something that grows to be like a little bit more of a sort of a long-term thing. I was thinking that I'm gonna give it like a year and see what happens. Like because we don't have like a strict timetable or a schedule or something. We're gonna do it every 2 days or every other day or something like that. Sort of
Yeah, that's cool.
regular irregularity.
Yeah, I like that. I like committing to a larger time frame too, because it's like I don't know. I think committing to that time frame and not really having expectation is when you're pleasantly surprised, especially with something like streaming and YouTube and
Yeah,
making videos. The
yeah,
more you pressure you try and put on expectations, it just I don't know. It doesn't really
yeah. And
work.
I don't know if it was you or if it was kinetics or was it just somebody on. It might have been Richard actually, who spoke about not like good enough is often like really good already. So you
Hmm.
shouldn't let perfect stand in the way of good enough, and then you can gradually improve on the good enough, so that the good enough moves towards the perfect, but you get the
Yeah.
ball rolling already. So once you reach that thing that you thought originally might be that perfection thing, you already maybe realize that it's a process that you're working, and it's already on its way to improve some more, and it's already going to places where it wouldn't have if you've still like pondering and you know getting lights and microphones and shit.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would have said on one of my audio recordings.
Mm,
But I'm sure all three of us have said something like that, similar, because that's the truth. I mean, it's like
it is,
it's
yeah.
more so about the momentum, and that's what people I think get mixed up. So it's like we could even talk about this in the frame of people getting this mixed up with success and money. Is that oftentimes people focus on just that, the money aspect of success, whereas everything, if you look at, because there's a deep structure to everything, right? There's a core to everything, and the deep structure to success is simply momentum. And so as
Yeah.
things start to move, then new opportunities open up, or you just have a different lens in which you see opportunities that were always there. Doesn't matter which one is true, but the core thing that is required there is the momentum. So that's why it's so good to just get started, is because
Yeah.
then you're moving, you're in motion, you can feel the energy of being in motion, you can feed off of that. And like I said, it's either that new opportunities present themselves or they were always there, but now you're seeing them because again, you've got all this energy behind you, you've got this excitement, etc. So it's like if we just focus on the momentum of it and the consistency of whatever we're doing, then everything else sorts itself on a long enough timeline,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. On the last, maybe it was the second stream we had. It was Nico I was streaming with. He said that it takes 14 times for something to become a habit. So I thought I want to get the first 14 times out away from like under me as quick as possible.
Yeah,
So,
I
so
think there's
yeah.
a couple different ways to
Thanks
measure
for
that.
helping.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely.
Yeah, 14 times or something like if you do something for 3 weeks or something, then like yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard several different ways in how to describe this.
I think they're just different models that both work for a large enough amount of the population, so both are true.
Oh yeah,
There's
they don't
probably
have
there's
to.
probably
Yeah,
unlimited amounts of habit models that work. It's just really about the frequency of it, and yeah, I'd say the frequency, the depth, and the amount of excitement you have.
mm,
So
mm,
have you ever noticed? It's kind of like this, right? Everyone can tell you about their least favorite class in school, which coincidentally was the worst grade, and their favorite subject, which was probably their best grade or one of the best grades. So
yeah,
what is that? Well, it just has to do with, well, I was excited about this subject and I thought I was good at it, which because I created a positive feedback loop that told me I was good at it. So I built confidence around this, and the other one I didn't.
yeah,
So it's like
yeah. Both
that's
of
also
it,
important with habit forming.
yeah, and it's funny because both of them are still sort of stuck in your memory bank, and
Yeah.
depending on which way you sort of lean, you either reminisce on the successes or the failures. uh,
Yeah, of
this
course.
is in relations to when you're learning new stuff. So you either have a feeling that, oh, I'm good at learning new stuff, or I've always sucked when there's new stuff to be learned.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. I
So you
really
have
got
to
to
shed those. You have to shed those things before you start something new. And simultaneously, you have to find something that you love about what you're doing. So, like something about streaming, you have to fall in love with, whether it's connecting with people, whether it's just talking, whether it's just sharing your opinions, whatever aspect of it, you have to fall in
Mm,
love with some aspect of it because that will fuel
yeah,
the excitement.
yeah. It was funny because as a kid, like I think I was in fourth, from third grade up to the fifth grade. So there's like the 3 years, third, fourth, and fifth. I was in this radio club that we had in our school. Back in the day when money was abundant, uh, uh, the cities would pay teachers extra salary if they just just if they wanted to keep some kind of a club, any kind, like you could have like arts and crafts or woodwork or photography or whatever, like in like freaking you could play floorball or whatever. So our teacher was really into radio. This was still like back in the day when radio DJs were famous and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'll go and I'll join the radio club. And wouldn't you know it, like sitting on the John where I do most of my thinking, uh, all these vibes came back from when I was like really young, and when I was like when I remembered like we everything was recorded on like on magnetic tape. All the broadcasts were recorded on these 4 hour long VHS videotapes that were switched on slow play, so they would last for like 8 hours. So like everything was like very low tech, but man, we were excited. We had all kinds of stuff already, like on like fourth grade and stuff. Yeah, and I was thinking to myself that like the like I'm comfortable with all the dead air when I'm thinking about what I'm gonna say next. But I'm gonna have to get back into that sort of rhythm where you can talk and think at the same time. it's
Yeah, it's like a
it's
flow
flown to
state.
be a yes, it's flown to be a bit of a challenge for me. But yeah, I think I'll pick it up pretty quick, hopefully, because I had practice as a kid.
Yeah, I think for me anyways is I went from when I was younger, I almost failed high school because of public speaking class and I failed it. I went from that and oh my God, I talk about this often because I think it's hilarious now and I've gone through like the iterations to get past it. But um I basically almost failed school because of it. I conned my teacher into letting me do most of the presentations early in the morning when she was grading papers. And then the very last one that accounted for most of the grade, I actually had to do in front of the entire class. And I completely melted down. So I froze. I got stuck. I turned beet red. I was sweating. I almost passed out. And somebody had to help me back to my seat because I was just completely stuck. And I went from that to being terrified of speaking in front of people because I still hadn't figured out the process of allowing the stream and the flow to occur. Like the thought and speech can happen simultaneously if you allow it to. And or it's a model like what you do and how your brain processes to where you think, you pause, and then you speak. I don't do that. Everything from me, because I've trained myself this way and I push for this, is I like the stream.
Yeah, I don't do that very much. That's why. See, the thing is, like, there's a lot of shit coming out like constantly, and the
Yeah.
reason I'm thinking what I'm gonna say next is because I'm already old enough to realize that most of the shit that's going through here is just better left unsaid. It's not gonna help. It's not gonna help anybody. Nobody's gonna feel better. It's not gonna like. I'm not adding to anything. I'm like there's like the class clown is still sort of deeply like riding in my sort of piggyback ride. So I'm trying to just keep it in a sort of sensible, so that there's not too much of that, like, so that I don't bastardize the whole thing. Just
That kind of monkey
because
chatter.
yeah, because you can be like funny, ha ha all the time, but that shit wears out pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So I like to have like some kind of a red line to follow. One interesting thing that is going on over here, like if we wanna take this to like current topics, is they're looking into initializing or whatever it is that they do to it, but they're sort of bringing in emergency measures like by law. So they're gonna really go for our private rights.
Yeah.
All our freedoms. And that
Yeah.
is because they mandated vaccinations to all the nursing staff and everybody who works in healthcare. So now in a country of like 5.5 million people, we have 6,000 open positions in hospitals all over the country. Everybody just up and fucking quit. And with the legislation, it gives them legal sort of right to order somebody to come to work.
That's interesting.
The thing is, they can order a person to come to work because of the unvaccinated people. The same person that they fire from that job a day before because they're not vaccinated. So I don't know what the fuck is going on with this. It doesn't, like, the logic is lacking in my mind, but there's a lot of stuff going on that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that logic is kind of taking a back seat to greater ambitions of power and control.
Yeah. I'm having a sensation that we're gonna be introduced to some new funky kind of a electric currency, digital, pretty soon. Like, they're really trying their damnedest to drive this thing to the brick wall as soon as they can.
That's curious in and of itself, isn't it? The speed at which all of this is moving is very interesting to me.
Yeah, and nobody is like
Very interesting to me.
Like, yeah, they're just bringing in, and they're signing treaties over here, giving the European Union like dominion over us. They're gonna have artificial intelligence hooked up to all the CET cameras, and they're gonna have AI give us social credit score points and
Really?
yeah. I just read some of the papers that
Yikes. That's
were,
fast. That's real fast.
it is, yeah.
Holy cow.
There's my feeling is a lot of the folks in power at the moment are gonna they're gonna spend the rest of their days in prison.
I think at some point, yeah. I think you'll get like a Kazakhstan level reaction in most places if you push hard enough.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but I think that's really the only way forward. Is because that's how it tends to be, right? Everyone has different levels of, you pushed me too far and now I have to respond. I have to react in some sort of way. And that's different for everybody. But once enough people do that, then you notice things tend to change. So things won't change until that occurs.
Yeah, and it's just really worrying to me, because, like, yeah, if you remember what happened the last time, everybody got to the end of their stick. There's quite a few million people died, so I would like to avoid that situation completely.
Yeah.
But some kind of a, yeah, this is like the dominoes have already started to fall, so it's really gonna be hard to put out all the fires before this thing gets out of hand. It's a good thing we have a way where we can refuse them of our money and just take it out of their system. And the best thing in my mind is the fact that we're just gonna sit on our asses for a while, not beg for anything, courteously, we're just gonna say, I won't take the government cheese. Thank you. I'll be fine here in my own hole in the ground. You leave me alone. And then give it some time. Everybody just walks up, goes and pays off their debts, and then we watch the banks destroy each other once the debt is gone.
I mean, I think crypto as a whole represents that, right? Like, crypto is that opportunity. And just imagine if there was no crypto, how bad things would be. Yeah.
But
and HEX in particular. Yeah. I agree.
Because it's the interest is so massive. Like, I'm so happy I have HEX already staked, so I don't have to make the decision between, like, all the pulses and all the X's and without, and hexes with and without the E's. I am so happy I'll get them all. So I don't have
Well,
to wait for
I think outside of the hex product is it's just really difficult for people to actually make money in crypto. Unfortunately, I think it's still a really great opportunity. It's just what the natural life cycle that most people usually go through ends up walking them down a path of complete destruction. And that's why, retail is considered dumb money. It's no different here, is that those people get rinsed over and over and over again from rug pulls, from commissions, from exchange fees, from, quick little market dumps on, Binance only or on this exchange only. And before you know it, you think that you're in the action, you're playing the big game, you think you're winning, but your stack keeps going down more and more. And you don't really notice it because by then you're so thinned out and you're over here in this L1 or layer one, you're over here in this one, you're staking over here, you've got this LP farm, and you've got so much of your portfolio in so many different places, you don't realize quick enough that you're actually losing. And then before you know it, you got less and less and less. Life hits you, an emergency happens, you got to pull money out, and then on a long enough timeline, you end up with zero.
Yeah, that's like you described. You described my crypto experience from 2013 to 2018. That's like pretty accurate description of what happened. I bought my first Bitcoin when it was like on its way to the $1,000 for the first time. I bought it. I decided I'm gonna buy when it was $200. When I got online and found a place where to buy, it was $500. And I think maybe a week later it was like $100 again, and it had made that $1,000 peak.
Mm-hmm.
And I just forgot it. I left it like on purpose for many years. I came back to it only like late 2016. And swapped it for Ethereum, which was proved out to be a good thing. But then everything is started swimmingly, so Ethereum went from I think maybe $8 to it went to what $1,200 or something, and there was all that ICO craze going on. So yeah, I made like from my $500 I came up to something like 70k, and then I drove that fucker down to less than $2,000. Like a true fucking pleb.
Yeah,
like,
a true degen.
I'm not selling because that's taking loss, and I'm not taking a loss. That's like, oh my god, like such fucking cope, denial.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like no, there was nothing. Like I couldn't sort of face the facts. I was like, it had to have been like denial, because I was absolutely
massive denial,
wrecked.
dude.
Yeah,
massive denial. I did the same shit, so mine was just bigger. I went up to like 300 or 400k, then right back down to like 70, 80k.
Yeah.
From 10,000. So it's
it
still pretty good deal, I guess, but it's not really.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
and so okay,
like a win.
What did we just prove? We just proved the two things. We would have been better off just buying Bitcoin and just fucking forgetting about it. Yeah. And then like 6 years later, come back to it. But you can't do that, because you see, once you get into it, you buy in mentally more and more and more, because then it goes up and then you're like, oh shit, I got to pay attention to this. I'm getting rich off of this. So then you pay attention more, and it's actually diminishing returns at that point, because the more you pay attention, the more you fuck it up and end up losing money. Whereas with HEX, you actually have no fucking choice. You can stare at it all you want. You can look at it going up, down. You can freak out about it, but there's nothing you can fucking do about it. And I love that. I don't know why people insult the product like that, thinking that that's a bad thing. Like, oh, gee, you're an idiot. You're going to lock up for 10 years. You can't even sell it, dude. What are you, stupid? Yeah. It's like, okay, let's take a step back. How many people actually bought Bitcoin at fucking 1 penny and sold at 69,000? Let me spell it out for you. 0.
Yeah, no
I don't
way.
think there's a single person on the planet that actually made that trade. Now, there's a lot of people who bought in, like I bought in right before the big run up to like, I think 2,300. And then I sold at 20. I sold some at 40. I sold some at 60. So it's like a lot of people made really good trades, which then made them rich. But who actually held the entire trade? I don't think a single person on this fucking planet did it.
Yeah.
A Satoshi, but where the fuck is he?
Yeah, he's not selling.
No.
So he's like me back in the day, not taking profits. Like I wasn't taking losses.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing about that, here's what's funny about not taking losses, is we tend to cut positions too quick because we're like, oh my god, I made like $100. Yeah, okay, sell, and because you don't feel like you deserve it so much that you have to run away with this $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 gains. Because again, in your brain, there's some variation of this story playing out that you're not worthy of making $1 million, 10
You
million,
need
a
to work
billion
for it
off this
more.
trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to work for it. Exactly.
Click more buttons, then you get
Yes.
the million. Yeah.
So you sell it too quick, but then on the losses, you hold the losses way longer than you should. So you sell too soon and you hold on too late, and then you end up fucking yourself.
Also, you throw in good money after the bad.
Yes.
So after you've already lost like almost everything, and it still dips a bit, you're like, okay, now it's gonna go up, so I'm gonna put in 2 more hundred or.
Oh yeah, dude, bro, you're
something.
DCAing. You're DCAing in,
Yeah,
right?
it's not degenerate at all. But
Nope.
the mechanism where the exchanges get you is pretty much the same how a dog learns to beg from the dinner table. So it only takes one like piece of like one small meatball or something like a piece of a hot dog or something that a kid drops to the dog once, and it picks it up once, and because it is an out of the ordinary experience for the dog for food to rain from the sky, it's gonna learn immediately that something special happens here when people are eating. So I'm gonna be
Yeah.
here every time because fucking food falls from the skies. So that's the same thing when you go to an exchange. If your first experience is going up, like it usually might be for a day or two, or like the first 30 minutes or whatever, you're up a bit and you get the first rush of succeeding, and then you start to spread your sort of good luck around and buy different tokens to see if they'll do the same thing again. That's like you're already sort of sitting in front of more and more dinner tables waiting for crumbs to fall because it was so nice the last time, but you have no idea what's going on up there. Like you don't know what they're eating.
Yeah.
They're just like promising that there's gonna be crumbs for you if you come and check this out.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, absolutely. It's the same shit, man.
Yeah.
And like none of that's strategy.
I just
None of
thought
that's a
of that.
plan.
I just thought of that live while scratching my ear, and I'm pretty sure left part of my brain was still thinking about a tit I saw on a GIF. So I'm
There you go.
multitasking, man. I'm
There you
getting
go.
there. I'm gonna be like a regular, like what do you call it on the radio? Thanks, Tin Top. Like these analogies are something that I found I have a bit of a knack at. Like yeah, I find like good analogies every now and then. So
That's good. It helps with storytelling. See, I'm good at
yeah,
storytelling. I'm good at breaking out like the whole piece, the whole picture, right?
yeah. I had a like when we got into Hex and hung out at the voice chat. I had this idea of like an animation I would like to make, and I still think it would be like a great story. It would have to be kind of like a short movie, like maybe a minute and a half, 2.5 minutes that it would take to tell the story. But it was like regarding the nature of t-shirts, like how would you present a t-shirt if it was like a physical entity? What would it look like? What kind of would it have any physical attributes, and what would like a fresh t-shirt, would it look different from like a 14-year-old T-share, because I, like in my mind, if it was like a robot made of like code and sort of immaterial stuff,
Hmm.
but when you give it hex, it turns into like this machine that latches on to like a cable or something, which could be like the blockchain, and then it sort of travels into the future somewhere along the cable and starts to travel towards you. And while it's traveling towards you unstoppably, it sort of grows bigger and bigger with the hex that it's sort of creating, that you will be creating once it reaches you with like along the cable that it's traveling. I don't know if it's like a. I'm very used to my ideas being great in my mind, but when they come
So
out, they're like stupid.
no. So the alien creature, this like ones and zeros type creature, I picture like if that were to work, it would need like some sort of like satchel or something or bag,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah,
grabbing
like a
the
bag.
hex.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
grabbing the hex
and it
as
would
he's
have
moving
like.
along the
Do
line.
you do you know like when you have electric trams, they have this hook that they use to latch on to the electric line, which
Yeah.
goes like above the street. So I was imagining that it would be like just like a almost like a mailbox with these silly legs and the hook, and it would just use the hook to latch on to the sort of the chain or like a cable that a signal travels through, and then
Hmm.
as it goes around, the box sort of transforms because it sort of represents all the financial energy that's in there, so it could sort of grow up to be bigger, like a like a shopping cart and a Lambo and a like a oil tanker or whatever. But it
Hmm.
would sort of grow to be bigger, but still would have like that just a small hook that it connects to the cable, and then you would see somebody emergency end stake, and that whole thing that like you'd see uh, like a really interesting sort of machine in the background trying to make it towards you, but then the guy goes like and clicks on the emergency end stake button that he has, and sort of the hook comes off and it can't make it back towards like all the way to you, and it sort of falls on the ground and off it all falls to shit. Like I don't. That'd be
Yeah, I think
like a
that would be good.
representation of. That'd be like a representation of like emergency and staking and how that is spread out through the stakers.
I think if you could fit that into a minute of like
I
showing
think I
like the
could.
life cycle of a
T-shirt.
steak with all the things, yeah, like of all the everything that happens after a stake is started, right? Like getting the shares and converting it, and hex being burned, and all of that aspect. If that could be told in like this story of like this animation of this little like tinker thing that again it's collecting and it's working, I think it'd be good to show it visually on a horizontal timeline, and it's
Mm.
hitting all these accomplishments of like emergency end stakes, inflation going up, down, whatever, T-share going up, and then like at the end of the video, it's ending the stake, and then what's left is
Yeah,
just this
yeah,
big pile of hex.
yeah, exactly. And
That'd
then
be cool.
you're stuck with the dilemma of are you gonna spend the hex or create more shares, because it's gonna cost an arm and a leg in hex to create a new T-share like you just had dismantled in front of you, because the T-share price goes up when you end
Yeah,
the stake. So you're gonna have to spend like almost or all of your hex to get the same kind of a fellow you just had. So yeah,
yeah.
it covers a lot of the uh, sort of
That could be really
the
good to do. Yeah, because it could be really simple, a really simple way of explaining the life cycle of a stake, essentially. I like that idea, actually. I like that.
I knew it was a good idea to say it out loud. Every now and then we get these crippling moments of self doubt, but I'm working on it.
Good.
I have to say they're very short and not that crippling.
That's good.
Nah, no, I'm fine. I have a very high belief in myself, which is why I'm here without any script.
Yeah,
Promise. I
that kind of
promise
proves
if
it.
I promise if we do this again, I'm gonna at least have a post-it note with some kind of a frame that covering stuff that I wanna talk about, and
That's fair.
maybe I'll ask you if there's something that you wanna talk about. I don't know, like we've come this far. Is there anything that you feel like we should cover before we wrap it up? We're coming in on an hour.
I don't think so, because if we were to start a new thread now, it would.
It's gonna be a good 15 minutes before we get.
Nah, it's gonna be longer than that if I start on anything, dude.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
gonna take us deep down a narrative and a story. But
Yeah.
I would agree with you from the standpoint that, like, a lot about live streaming and getting in front of people is just throwing yourself into the fire. And so you got to have a strong belief in yourself, because you have to trust in your ability to be able to come up with something to fill the time.
Yeah,
And that's either a story to tell or a direction to go. And so I think the more you throw yourself into the fire like that, the better you get at naturally creating these bullet point lists, these topic, ideas in your head. And you do that long enough, and you're able to just kind of piece all that together on the fly in these situations, which I think is very, very powerful.
Yeah, it's usually the best. It feels most organic, so it's sort of comfortable to listen to. If it doesn't go from one thing to another like really quickly, because sometimes like this flow thing can be difficult to listen to if it hops from place to place. One thing, like sales. Would you be interested in discussing sales? Like I'm thinking in particular techniques. I have this one thing where I go for the no answers, which is humongously effective. Like in
Okay.
kinds of sales, I'd be interested in hashing it out with you if that's something that you ever are even like interested in anymore.
Yeah. Do you want to do that on this stream, or do you want to do a dedicated stream
I
to
think
like sales talk?
yeah, we could have like a completely separate like maybe talk about like different approaches to different people on how to onboard. Like
Yeah, I think
a
that'd be
bit
good.
more hands-on. Like
Didn't
yeah.
we talk about this before? Because this is streaming from something that I said before, right? That's why you're bringing this up,
Mm,
or no?
uh,
Didn't we talk about? Weren't we talking about copywriting and shit like
we
that
were
before in
yeah
sales?
yeah we were yeah
Okay, okay.
yeah yeah
Like where all that streams from is like I did door-to-door sales when I was in my early 20s in Detroit
mm,
and in Miami, outside of Miami, in Hialeah, which are like two very difficult areas if you're from the US. And that's where like I was, I got my I don't know, I guess that's where I got like a lot of my sales skills, because we went, door to door, and you had to
mm,
pretty quickly get to a decision maker and get them to buy the dog shit that you were trying to sell, So
yeah
it's like
yeah I
that's
know
where a lot of my skills came from, actually,
yeah
is back then, and I just
yeah
refined them over the years.
yeah. So
So I
like
think that'd be fun.
yeah, it might really be interesting. Yeah, we might get
I think
into that.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
sales and persuasion and all that.
yeah, and not persuasion in a bad way. Like it doesn't. It's not like a dark skill. It's just if you're communicating with a person, it helps everybody if you have the tools in use yourself, so that you get the thing you want to present out in the open as soon as possible. And it would be like I think it's like you're cheating yourself if you say that it doesn't matter if you use the techniques or not. Like if it's a good thing, why use the technique? Well, fucking, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I agree. I agree with that. You
it's
gotta you
really
gotta
yeah.
gotta believe in what you're selling, and so you got to look at it as like you are providing
Yeah.
value. And as long as you truly believe that, then I think that using strategies or tactics, even though there's talking about those things in the books and the tapes and all that on persuasion is usually framed in a bad light, I would say that overall it's a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Jay. It was really cool talking with you. Hope to do
Yeah,
this
same.
again
Thanks for having me
sometime.
on.
thanks guys for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff.
Yes, helps with the algos.
Oh yeah, please do.